Good afternoon, everybody. The music fan is back. I am that man in a box buried in my pit. Don't worry if you didn't dam that river, because I don't give a damn anyway. Because today we are going into that flood again, that same old trip that was back then. I am back with another Are You In? If you didn't get any of those references, hopefully you will today, because I am taking a look at Alice in Chains' newest album, Rainier Fog. If you don't know Alice in Chains, you probably didn't grow up in the 90s, but that's totally fine. They are an alternative metal, grunge, sludge metal, hard rock band from Seattle, Washington. Members including Jerry Cantrell on lead and rhythm guitar / vocals, Sean Kinney on drums, Mike Inez on bass, and William Duvall on vocals, rhythm, and lead guitar. They've had 5 previous albums: Facelift in 1990, Dirt in 92, Alice in Chains in 95, Black Gives Way to Blue in 2009, and The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here. Now, I personally love this band. If it wasn't for Soundgarden and Stone Temple Pilots, this would be my favorite grunge band of the 90s. I love Chris Cornell's voice from Soundgarden. I love the changing of the feels and the musical types of Stone Temple Pilots albums. But for me, what drives Alice in Chains and why I love it so much is the harmonies. The harmonies of Lane Staley and Jerry Cantrell are incredible. Some of the best ones that I have heard. It's like taking the ideas of folk music and the ideas of 60s and 70s pop and bringing it into grunge. And it's a really cool idea. Lane Staley was the lead vocalist, and his aggression was great, and his growls and a lot of his angst in his voice was great. And Jerry Cantrell was a little bit more subdued, and it showed really well with their pairings. Now, when Lane Staley passed away, William Duvall came in, and his is a little bit less aggressive than Lane Staley's, but I think Jerry Cantrell brought his voice up a little bit more, so that pairing still works well. I love a lot of the albums. Facelift is a great starter with And We Die Young. We have Sea of Sorrow, Man in a Box. A lot of great songs on that. But of course, the masterpiece Dirt has to be the best out of them. Songs like Them Bones, Damn That River, Rain When I Die, Down in a Hole, Rooster, Dirt, Godsmack, Hate to Feel, Angry Chair, and Wood. It's a phenomenal grunge masterpiece, and it would be my favorite one if it not for Super Unknown by Soundgarden, or Purple, or Core, whichever one you want to throw from Stone Temple Pilots. This album is in my top 10 albums of all time, and it's a phenomenal album if you've never given a listen. Even their EPs are phenomenal in Sap and Jar of Flies. Jar of Flies being one of the highest selling EPs of all time, and has songs like No Excuses. A lot of their older stuff is incredible, and if you haven't taken a look, I would highly recommend it. I might even do a digging through their discography some point in the future. Then we get Alice in Chains. Not my favorite album, but it does have some good stuff, like Got Me Wrong, Over Now, Heaven Beside You, but it's a little bit more sludgy and more dissonant than their previous ideas. And then we all know that Lane Staley passed away. William Duvall comes in, and they start doing their own trilogy. Black Gives Way to Blue, really good debut album for this new lineup, and has some really good songs. Check My Brain, Sunshine, All Seasons Known, Your Decision. A lot of really good songs. It doesn't bring back the grunge ideas, but it has this more alternative metal, alternative rock style to it, and shows that they are able to progress over the years. Then you get Devil Put the Dinosaurs Here. Not a bad album, but it wasn't as good as Black Gives Way to Blue. There's some good songs, Stone, Hollow, but honestly, not a huge fan of that one. But I was excited to hear that they were putting out a new album this year. That one being Rainier Fog. I heard the first song, The One You Know. Wasn't a huge fan of it at first, but I was still excited to see what they were coming out with. So, after listening to it a bunch of times, what do I think about it? First off, let's talk about just kind of the breakdown of songs on this album. You got a lot of heavier stuff on here, like the one you know. It is very sludgy, very dissonant, very sinister at times, and I really have grown to like this song, kind of like the virus in the music video. It keeps multiplying, and it sounds better with each listen. I love that very staccato and very abrasive guitar riff. I really like the dissonant harmonies, and just how everything feels just a little bit off on the melody and the harmonies. I really like the chorus motion. I love the harmonies there and how they interact with just two chords. I like all of that. The guitar solo is nice, and it has this nice contrasting bridge part that feels a little bit more major and light compared to everything else. Though that is probably the highlight when it comes to the heavier stuff, though you also get a bunch of heavier songs on here, Red Giant being one of them, a little bit more sludgy, a little bit more bluesy. I love the guitar riff on there. The melody isn't as interesting, but the ensuing guitar solo and the bridge gives it some nice depth to the actual song. You get a song like Drone, which isn't necessarily a heavier song, but it does keep that bluesy idea and has a very fun main riff. It's my favorite main riff on the album. Has some really good harmonies and melody lines. I love the 6/8 feel, and the drums are really good. And then you get the slower arpeggiated 3/4 feel later in the song in the bridge part. I love that song because of just how goddamn catchy it is. The riff is great. It's so bluesy, and it makes for another highlight on the album. You also get a song like Deaf Ears, Blind Eyes. Not really memorable to me, but again, another one of these harder ones with some solid harmonies. Never Fade is another one of them where it's a little bit harder, and it's probably to me one of the least great tracks on the album. And when we're talking back to Alice in Chains, that album kind of reminds me of God Am. It experiments well and it means well, but I think the verse is kind of annoying to me with the tensions that they're trying to create. It just doesn't work as well. And the chorus is all right, but it doesn't do enough to make this a standout song. So far, Under is the last of these really sludgy or heavy hitting ones. It's kind of feels like Stone from the previous album, and it's fun. I love the playful nature of the chorus. The verse isn't that interesting though. So in terms of all these heavier ones, you got a mixed bag. Rainier Fog kind of fits under there, but it feels a little bit more of a harder rock song rather than a heavy song. It kind of feels like if we were to compare The One You Know and Rainier Fog to a song off Dirt, it kind of feels like The One You Know was Them Bones, the slower and heavier hitting song. And then Rainier Fog feels like Damn That River, a little bit more upbeat, though Rainier Fog doesn't have that same energy to it. Rainier Fog does have a nice bridge to there, and I do like the chorus melody and the harmonies. But the verse to me isn't as interesting in comparison to everything else. I do like how the bridge powers back into the main riff and builds very well. So most of this album does follow that harder hitting sound, but it also does bring back some of their well-known, like acoustic-y, slower paced songs that I love. Stuff like Heaven Beside You, stuff like Down the Hole. It does bring back these ones where it focuses more on all of them being a little bit more folky and the harmonies feeling more folk-ish. Fly being a prime example of it. It does feel like Heaven Beside You, but I love the melody on there. I love the harmonies. They are so interesting, and the chorus melody is really, really nice, a really nice touch, very bluesy at times. There's even some minor parts in this song that kind of come in a surprise to give a little bit more of a depth to the straightforward song. There's a change in sound where they bring out the electric guitar for a little bit of a guitar solo. So there's a lot of depth to this very simplistic song. You also get Maybe, which has this, again, a little bit more acoustic feel, even though this one kind of works with major and minor throughout it, so it's a little bit more straightforward in terms of the arrangement and instrumentation. It doesn't catch you off guard that it's going to go to minor. I love the harmonies on this song. I think it's some of the best on the album, if not for the last song, All I Am, this 7-minute track, the longest on the album, and it isn't as acoustic, but it does use that vibe of a more of a ballad song, and some really interesting guitar parts, some nice overtones on the guitar. The harmonies, the melody is beautiful, and even though it's a 7-minute song, it doesn't really change that much. It never overstays its welcome, which I love about it. I think this is the best song on the album and the most exposing song. The guitar parts are interesting, but never takes away from the melody. The melody is the main part of this song, and it's a fantastic melody. All in all, this is a really solid CD that kind of takes a little bit of everything from their previous work and homages it into one album. I think there are some weaker songs: Deaf Ears, Blind Eyes, So Far Under, Never Fade. I think all of them are a little bit weaker, and I think that the beginning half of the album is better than the ending, but I think all in all, you've got to listen to it all the way through. The lyrics themselves are also pretty introspective. Now that this band has been around for almost 30 years, it's getting to the point where, especially with Jerry Cantrell losing a lot of people, it gets to that point where it's being introspective, and that's what I think why the using of a lot of the different ideas from the past works well with this album. Song like The One You Know, where it's talking about someone changing over years, even if the outside exterior doesn't seem that much different. Songs like Rainier Fog, which is talking about literally the fog on Mount Rainier. That's where the title comes from, and it's talking about the grunge scene that was built up in Seattle, Washington in the 90s, and how it's different now, and how a lot of the people are gone, but how the music still tries to carry on. A song like Fly, that kind of has the same tone in terms of the last song on Florence and the Machine's album, where it's talking about, being able to live in mediocrity, or being able to live in a medium tone rather than having too many high highs or low lows, and being okay with that, knowing that as years go on, the things that are as interesting aren't there. There isn't a lot of high highs, but there will be low lows, and being able to continue through there, knowing that you're kind of in the middle way where you can't go back, but you got to keep moving forward. A song like Maybe, where you have this talk about the seasons never changing in LA, even though the people around them are. All I Am is this grandiose song talking about Gary Cantrell's time in music and looking back on everything and seeing if everything that he did was for good. And Never Fade is talking about the death of people close to you and feeling that trauma or that pain every day and making sure that you can get through it. There are other songs that have a little bit of a different tone to it. Red Giant is talking about the high that you get from playing music in front of a crowd and how you are dictating everything around you. Drone is talking about a perfect relationship that was messed up during a one-night stand. Deaf Ears, Blind Eyes is talking about depression and isolation. And So Far Under is talking about the idea of being overburdened or outnumbered. So there is a little bit of a difference on some of these songs, but for the most part, it's a very introspective album, and I think the music fits that very well. If you love grunge, if you love Alice in Chains, definitely give this a listen. I think it's better than the previous album. I think Black Gives Way the Blue is still a little bit better, but I love the overall difference in sound in this that I don't remember Black Gives Way the Blue having. I like that they're able to take old Alice in Chains ideas. I love that they can take even previous ideas of the new iteration of Alice in Chains and make them interesting. Even if it does pay homage to a lot of the other stuff, I think it works very well on its own. If you haven't ever gone to Alice in Chains, I think this might be a good starting point because it goes through a lot of these different ideas of the past. And then from there, pick which style you like. If you like the more acoustic ideas, definitely take a look at their previous works with Dirt and Alice in Chains. If you like more of their sludgier ideas, take a look at Alice in Chains or Black Gives Away the Blue. Yeah, it's something for everybody, and I really like that. So that is my time. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this album, of course, give this a like. If you have any thoughts about the album, tell me what you like, tell me what you hate. Subscribe to my channel, share this with your friends, and most importantly, just keep on watching my videos. So later today, I'll also be putting out a second part of the Hawken discography review. And then tomorrow I'll be back with another Are You In? And then later this week I will be putting out 3 others. I'm trying to get back on track after the last 2 weeks, and I have a lot to work with, but I'm in a good shape, and hopefully I'll be able to get all 6 videos out this week, and then I'll go back to the 3 that I've been doing weekly. But thank you so much for watching. This has been The Music Fan, and I am signing off.